Hello. Bonjour, Nindin, Nindijnakaz, Wawate, Nimiwate, Kwe, Nindug, Maganug. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2021, I almost forgot what year it was, Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here today. There's additional chairs on this side. Please come sit down. And this is meant to be a community event, so move around. Don't be afraid to, my kids are here, so you might hear them. I might be shushing them, I don't know. But yes, my name is Courtney Davis Huwanasak, and I'm an enrolled member of the Trail Mountain Band of Chippewa. And I have the great pleasure to coordinate Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm not going to take up too much time because I really want you all to experience a little bit of culture and history today. We have a long way to go. We are on our way though, and I'm so proud and thankful for every single one of you all today. Gets me all warm and fuzzy inside, and so it's just another one of those days where I really feel like a sense of community and a sense of belonging, and that's really what's important for me, that I can be here, have my children here, and they all know that they're welcome. We're going to start with a grand entry, and I have my brothers here, Dan and Cody, Noden, Kona, Kyle, and I had one more. Brandon, thank you so much for being here. And the dancers tonight, they're listed in the program. And these, when I started working at the Grand Forks Public School District in 2013, these students were in middle school age, and now they're grown, and I couldn't be happier that I still have that connection and that they agreed to be here tonight. Yeah, it just goes to show how life continues to go in a circle, and I just thank you all so much. I can't say it enough. So without further ado, Northern Lights Drum Group.
Hello everyone, my name's Clay Morin. Sorry. I'm from the MHA Nation. I'm a Hidatsa and I'm also enrolled in the band of Chippewa from Belcourt. It's been a while since I danced. Little out of shape. But I've been dancing. Grass is what I dance, and I've been dancing since probably 4 years old. As soon as I was able to walk, my mom put me in an outfit and set me on out there. Thank you guys.
Hello, my name is Elena Graeze. I'm 20 years old. I'm enrolled at the Spirit Lake Nation, but I'm also part Navajo and part Tlingit from Alaska, if anyone didn't know. But I've been dancing for as long as for my whole life. And I dance Northern Buckskin traditional. And yeah, thank you.
Hamadakapi, Chante Waste Nape Chuzapi, Wandio Yankawi, Machiapi. I'm a little out of shape too, like my brother. I have been dancing since I could walk, as well as these guys. I go to school here at UND, and I am currently pursuing my biology pre-med degree, and hope to one day open a women's clinic on my home reservation in Standing Rock. Yeah, that's where I'm from, Standing Rock too. And yeah, thank you guys for being here today.
I probably did the worst thing that I wasn't supposed to do by making them introduce themselves right after they got dancing, but thank you so much. So I'll go ahead and call my brother Dan up here so he can get us off started in a good way. Thank you.
No applause or nothing. All right, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Is this good? Okay. And those applauses for the dancers and for the drum group Northern Lights, and seeing these young adults here coming in, and I say young adults because I actually got the pleasure of watching them all dance from tiny tots all the way up, and they get better and better every year. Champion dancers right here. So a round of applause again for our dancers. When Courtney came to me and asked me to be a part of this, I said, yeah, I'll MC, and that's what I thought I was doing. I didn't know I had to do some opening remarks, but that's okay. So you guys want the short version, long version? Short version, I'll be here for about an hour. Long version, we'll be here till next Indigenous Days. I was a little nervous about coming here, to be honest with you. So yesterday, while the football games were going on, I went, struck up fire, and I went to my sweat. And while I was in there praying, 2 dogs came into my sweat. And I was like, kind of looking a little bit like, what, how in the heck? And the one dog, res dog, yeah, he looked at me, he goes, it's kind of hot in here. And the other res dog looked at me and said, yeah, talking res dog. No, that didn't happen. And by my sweat, I mean my Norwegian sauna that I have outside. But no, for 16 out of my 48 years, 16 years, I lived here in Grand Forks. While my parents went to school at the University of North Dakota. And I attended elementary, middle school, and high school here. I went to Lake Agassiz, Viking, Winship, Valley Junior High, and then Grand Forks Central for about a month before my parents, finally got their, well, my parents, it was hard for us here in Grand Forks a little bit being, from the Turtle Mountains and coming here. My dad would go a semester, my mom would work. Then my mom would go a semester and my dad would work, back and forth until, my dad received his degree, got a job with the InMed program, Indians into Medicine, where he was a coordinator. And then my mom was able to finish up her degree. She got a teaching degree, and she wanted to go back home. So mom got her teaching degree, and then at the age of 16, I was back on the reservation. And that was a culture shock in itself, going back to my own people. I came here to UND to start my degree. I didn't finish here though. I left 7 credits shy of my Indian Studies degree. But during that time there was turmoil here. And it had not a lot to do with that, of course, name changes. And the 3 schools that I went to all have their names changed. Valley Junior High was Warriors. I don't know what they are now. They had this goofy cartoon when you walked into the gym of a little native warrior, big nose, the works, and it was hard playing in that gym. It's hard playing basketball, looking at that. Of course, Grand Forks Central, you know what the name was there, and I won't mention it. And of course, UND. And again, I won't mention the name there, but go Hawks. Go Hawks. That name was changed to the Fighting Hawks, and they won a hockey championship right after that was done. And that tells you right then and there that it was meant to be. But there's a lot of history here in Grand Forks in this area. Not just, and they'll do, Courtney will do a land acknowledgement after I get done here. But this was the ancestral home of my people, you know, the last ancestral home. Because even before that, there was the Mandan. Before that, you know, the Cheyenne, the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota people. But the Ojibwe people, you know, my tribe, we were here before the old crossing treaty happened. And they just celebrated that last week, I believe that was. And I don't know how much of a celebration it was at that, because, you know, it was kind of a time where we were losing our lands. But just the fact that we're able today to come here and celebrate that we're still here. I was told to give an open remark, so I went, my brother lives here and his kids, and I don't get to see them much because I'm traveling and working. And so today I was able to, after I did a presentation, we did a presentation at UND in the afternoon, I was able to call my brother. And how did we celebrate Indigenous People Day? We went to the movie theater and we watched a film on an Italian crime family. But it was relaxing because I was able to decompress from today and think about what I was going to say tonight. And so I wrote some things down as watching the movie, and I started thinking about what I need to say. So after the movie is done, I got down, wrote down a little bit here. Then I was able to go across town and watch my niece Levi play a little bit of softball. So which was pretty cool. It was a good day for me. But this day is a day of celebrating the original residents, the original caretakers of Turtle Island, Makanak Manis. That's what we call North America. And there's a story to that, but I won't, that's another day to tell that story, that creation story, if you haven't heard it. But here in the United States, there's over 574 recognized federal tribes. Yes. One of the newest ones being the Little Shell Band out in Montana that comes from our people. Up in Canada, do we have any Canadians here? Well, no, all right. But across that invisible line, across that, that's an invisible line to us, because that's our land as well, and those are our people. But there's 630 recognized First Nation tribes still there. We're still here. And just in the United States alone, there's 6.6 million people that identify as First Nation and as Alaskan Natives. And that just goes to tell you that, hey, that we're still here and we're getting bigger, we're populating. Of course, 530 years ago, there was more, way more. But we're not going to talk about that. You know, that's history that you guys probably should be learning and hopefully with the way culture is going to be taught now in school systems, you'll get that truth. Because from here on out, there's going to be a truth. The word we use is dabwe, and the truth is starting to come. And it's not joyous, it's not happy, it's going to bring tears. It's going to bring emotions, but it's going to bring closure. Not only for Indigenous people, but non-Indigenous people as well. Because no matter how we can try to go back and erase time, we can't. So we have to go forward together, holding hands and learning from each other and being better human beings. We call ourselves Anishinaabe, the first people, but that's all humans to us as Anishinaabe. So if I say Anishinaabe, I'm talking not just Indigenous people, but everybody. And this is a day where we can come together, and it's beautiful to see this. And we can go on from here, and hopefully we won't have to worry about Indigenous Day, African American Day, or any other day. It'll just be Human People Day, because that's all we are. But each tribe, each of those 574 tribes and those 630 First Nations tribes in Canada, they each have their own tradition, their own language, their own beautiful, beautiful customs. And that survived through those times, through that time. And it's going to continue to survive. And we just want to invite all of you to be with us as that happens. Because we believe that as Indigenous people, it's our duty for the world to teach you how to live in harmony amongst each other. To teach you how to live in balance and harmony with the land. And that way we're going to continue to prosper. The Mother Earth right now is cleansing herself. And you're seeing that in all these storms. And it's going to happen. Because she is sick. She is sick. But we can heal her. And she is healing herself as well. We're just visitors here on her. So that's something I'll let you guys know too, is that, you know, we only have one planet. So do what you can to be out there so we can continue this being here. Now, just the fact that we've survived and kept our culture alive shows the resilience and the strength and the fervent spirit of the First Nation people. And we want to extend that hand to the rest of the world to say, hey, we're in this together. Let us help you. I did a presentation at Minot State University on about environmental impact and what Indigenous people are doing for the environment. One thing we're doing up in the Turtle Mountains is we're starting hemp farming. And although, yes, it's a money crop, but hemp in itself brings in 4 times more carbon dioxide than trees. The biosequestering of it makes a carbon bank with their root system in the ground. And that's what we, in the carbon dioxide, so it's getting rid of that carbon dioxide. So that's something that we're doing, we're researching. And we're hoping other people get along with that too. Because the greenhouse, as much as you might think, some of you might not believe it's a climate change, there's greenhouse gases out there. And we need to eliminate that. And that's what we're doing. But there's so many circumstances too, and detrimental factors harming the existence of these tribes. Hostile crusades. Disease. That's why it's kind of hard for some of us to receive blankets from non-Indigenous people. We laugh about it, but it's true. Extermination of food supply. In North Dakota, our bison buffalo supply was killed. Not for food, not for the fur, but just because if they were to kill that buffalo, they knew that the natives would go along with it. That's the truth. And it needs to be told. We talk about trafficking that's going on. The boarding schools, where's the original trafficking? our kids were taken from us and brought to schools that had jails in them. You know, non-Indigenous children were going to private schools too, but I guarantee you there are boarding schools, but I guarantee you there was no jails in their school system. But we had that. But we survived that. It's a trauma that we're trying to get rid of, but we're healing from it, yes, but we're working on it. So with all of that though, today is one of those days, and if anyone doesn't know the history of this day, the Indigenous Day, about in 1992 at Berkeley, it'll be almost 30 years, you know, next year would be the 30th anniversary, a group came together, there's an organization, and said we need to have an Indigenous People Day. So at Berkeley, California, they did that almost 30 years ago. And we're continuing that now. From that day on, actually the first state was South Dakota, believe it or not, in 1990, proclaimed this day Native American Day. And how some of you guys believe that, South Dakota, right? Yeah, they were the first state. And since then, there's been 12 states. On this day is Indigenous People Day, or Native American Day. There's over 100 cities in the world, or in the United States, that has this day as Indigenous People Day, and Grand Forks is one of them. Thank you. The President of the United States signed today Indigenous People Day. Now we need to get to the governor and have North Dakota make this day Indigenous People Day, and it will happen. It will happen. I guess, and again, homecoming wise for me, there's changes. I see it. I wasn't proud to be here when I lived here, when I went to school here. I seen the ignorance firsthand. My parents saw the ignorance. My grandparents saw the ignorance. My children, unfortunately, see the ignorance. I don't have grandchildren at this time. Although I do got a couple old enough to do that. But I'm hoping that when I do have grandchildren, they won't have to feel that ignorance, that any racism or any misconceptions, any stereotypes will be done and finished, where we're all living together in one piece. So that's what I'm going to bring today with my opening remarks. So at this time, I think I'm supposed to read the land acknowledgement too, right? Is that right, Courtney? Right? Or is that okay? So a resolution, is this the one right here? Nope. Is this the land, Courtney? Is this the land acknowledgement, or is this the resolution? Okay, do you have the land acknowledgement? Just make it up. Keith, you got UNDs? Okay, so the land acknowledgement basically right here, and we'll say, and I think I said it in the beginning of the speech, but even before, as the Ojibwe, we were one of the last ones to be here, but before that, there was the Dakota, Lakota, and the Nakota Oyate. There was the Mandan lived here, Hidatsa lived here, the Cheyenne lived in this area, and of course the Ojibwe. The Cree lived in this area, Assiniboine lived in this area, Gros Venture lived in this area, probably the Blackfeet even lived in this area before migrating out west. So just as far as Indigenous people, we give that land acknowledgement to those that stayed here. In fact, my fifth great grandfather was Ogima Mishkumakwa, Chief Red Bear. And and you feel pride because he actually lived here, you know? No, I mean, seriously, right here, his teepee was actually on this spot where City Hall is. No. But he could have. You never know, you know? And the Red River here was a river that was really shelter and nourishment for our peoples. and we hope to continue that as well here into the future. And we thank Grand Forks, again, I thank Grand Forks for having this day. I thank Courtney and Mayor Bushinsky for allowing us to have that and for bringing me here to speak. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, Chief McGuetch, and I'll turn the mic back over to Courtney.
I haven't worn makeup in a very long time, so I'm like, I'm wondering if I look okay here. Thank you, everyone. It just, wow. I had no idea what to expect, and this really is a testament of the support and the welcoming that Grand Forks truly deserves and that is working towards. I've been in Grand Forks since 2002. When I graduated high school and I came here to UND, and I bounced back and forth. Much like Dan, I had a hard time transitioning here to Grand Forks as well. And, but I did, just persisted, and I got my bachelor's in business administration. While I went home, got my associates from Turtle Mountain Community College, came back, got my business degree, and then now I'm pursuing my master's in educational studies. And it's been a journey, and I used to feel bad because I would compare myself to my peers and say, well, this person has this and that person has this degree and this, but at the end of the day, for me, it was just about that progress. And you know, we keep pushing that needle, that narrative a little bit further, and I feel like we truly are getting there. And it kind of started off with what's behind me. We have our 5 tribal nation flags, and if you guys go buy the cookies, and please grab cookies because they are delicious, number one, and they're in the shape of a medicine wheel, so try to keep everything to have a significance. And so the colors are representative of the cycles of life and the stages of life, and they all have their different meanings to it. And we printed off these tribal flags of North Dakota, and it has just a brief little land acknowledgement of what it is, whose land we're on. And you can look that up. If you Google land acknowledgement map, it'll show you anywhere, once you put in that zip code, whose traditional, ancestral, and contemporary lands that you are residing on. And for us, I think we're moving past that performative stage. We're looking for, you know, how we come together as a people. And my friend Katie, I'm going to call her out here. It also has all of the tribal websites on there, and then kind of an overview of where we are, where we're situated in the Dakotas as well. So hopefully you'll find this useful. But I'm going to call Council Representative Katie Dockler up here. So everybody give her a big hand, please. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm really excited to see this room packed. With COVID last year, we weren't able to have an in-person celebration, so we held it online. But we really missed the aspect of community and being able to share just the rich history of our culture and the community together. I wasn't planning on saying anything. Courtney is so kind. But we do have the resolution of the mayor and the Grand Forks City Council that was voted and passed unanimously back in 2019 to annually recognize the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day. And we did want to read it just to bring the history, and I appreciate all of you bringing your children as well. Don't worry about them making noise. We're glad that they're here and learning about everything that's going on, and they're a part of this. So do you want to go ahead and read it?
So I wanted to call out Katie because, you know, we had a conversation one day, and I had opened up the Grand Forks calendar, and it had said Columbus Day. And I said, what do we need to do to get this switched to Indigenous Peoples Day? And within 2 weeks, we had a resolution that was modeled after Fargo's resolution, and we got it in the meeting. Todd helped us, Rob and David. There was just so many people that came together to get this pushed through, and of course, with the help of the City Council, we got it, and now it's an official holiday in Grand Forks. So, and the movement is growing. We can see that just was it last week, President Biden actually did a first official for the United States itself. So that's pretty historic. So I'll go ahead and, yeah. So I'll go ahead and get started reading it. So a resolution of the Mayor and Grand Forks City Council annually recognizing the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day. Whereas the City of Grand Forks works to strengthen the Native American, American Indian, First Nations, Indigenous community by promoting understanding, recognition, and respect for cultures, and to enrich the community as a whole and support empathy, integrity, humility, good stewardship, and resources, fostering fellowship and familial cohesion. And whereas the Grand Forks City Council supports abolishing Columbus Day and replacing said day with Indigenous Peoples Day with the intention of bringing awareness and understanding to the City of Grand Forks community. And whereas the City of Grand Forks recognizes that Grand Forks was built upon the homelands and villages of the Indigenous people of this region, without whom the building of the city would not have been possible. And whereas the City of Grand Forks understands that in order to help close equity gap, government entities, organizations, and other public institutions should change their policies and practices to better reflect the experiences of Indigenous peoples to uplift our country's Indigenous roots, history, and contributions, as well as truthfully acknowledge the history of actions taken that created that gap. Whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas, and whereas 1990 representatives from 120 Indigenous nations at the First Continental Conference on 500 years of Indian resistance unanimously passed a resolution to transform Columbus Day into an occasion to strengthen the process of continental unity and struggle for liberation, and thereby use the occasion to reveal a more accurate historical record. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Grand Forks shall continue its efforts to promote the well-being of the Grand Forks Native American, American Indian, First Nations, and Indigenous community. Be it further resolved that the Indigenous Peoples Day shall be an opportunity to celebrate the thriving cultures and positive values of the Indigenous peoples of our region, and further be it resolved that we encourage our community to explore, acknowledge Christopher Columbus's violent and tragic mistreatment of the Indigenous people, and further be it resolved that the City of Grand Forks encourages Grand Forks Public Schools, University of North Dakota, other educational institutions, businesses, organizations, and entities to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. Woo. Almost done. That's a lot. Be it further resolved that the City of Grand Forks Indigenous Peoples Day shall serve as an occasion to reflect upon the ongoing struggles and positive contributions of Indigenous peoples of this land, and to celebrate the culture that and value that the Anishinaabe, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and all Indigenous people add to our community so as to enhance understanding and promote harmony. Therefore, be it finally resolved that by the City of Grand Forks, by the Grand Forks City Council, that the City of Grand Forks shall no longer recognize Columbus Day and shall henceforth proclaim the second Monday of October to be Indigenous Peoples Day. You did We did it. We all did it. So part of what I wanted to do to expand our outreach to the educational entities here in Grand Forks was I talked with Dr. Brenner, and he gave me a contact with, I'm so happy about, Dr. Brenda Lewis, and she and I had discussed what we were going to do for IPD, and because of all of these other factors going on. I had also visited with the Mentor Center. If you haven't visited it, and if you have children that are within that age range to attend, and Jamie can talk more about it, it is a fabulous, fabulous place, and I couldn't be more blown away how a clinical building could be transformed to provide care, emotional, mental services for our youth of Grand Forks, because we know we need it. And oh my goodness, I was so thankful for what Jamie and them and the students at the Mentor Center, and they'll discuss it more, but I'd like to call Dr. Brenda Lewis and Jamie Sevi of the Mentor Center up to talk about the art project. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Courtney. It has been quite a warm welcome that you have extended to me and our work here in Grand Forks, so we greatly appreciate it. Tonight, I'm just absolutely thrilled to be a part of this, but we, as Courtney said, are just so appreciative of the work of Jamie and Robin from the Mentor Center and just the work that our students have put together. I was so excited last week. Courtney was sending me some sneak peeks that I was able to share those with some of my colleagues, and it has just been incredible to see the work that our students did, and a special thanks to Jamie for all of her creativity and her work with our students. Take it away, Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm the project coordinator at the Grand Forks Public School Mentor Center and a local artist, and I heard about 2 weeks ago that Rob and David wanted a land acknowledgement at the Mentor Center, and that turned into the art project that you see over there. So we provide tutoring services and social emotional learning and mental health support to the middle and high school students in Grand Forks Public Schools, and they love art, so we collaborated. Courtney was kind enough to donate her time to come give a presentation to about 20 of our kids. And then 8 of them turned around and took the origin story of Turtle Island and made some art for us. And then the land acknowledgement turned into like a landscape with just, we are on native land, and some incorporation of the sacred medicines of the Northern Plains. And that's the project.
So I grabbed a couple different resources from both UND Library, Chester Fritz Library, and Grand Forks Public. There's a lot of resources out there. Actually, I saw on their Instagram today that they have audiobooks, and they just released Anton Troyer's Everything You Wanted to Know About Indians But Were Afraid to Ask. It's such an easy read. You can get through it probably in one day, so I highly recommend it. And now I'd like to turn it over to UND President Arma Cost.
I now see how full this room is, and I can say that I think it was in May or June that Courtney reached out to me and said, would you be a part of this event? And I said, absolutely. And this is your hard work and the work of so many others who have pulled together, but you led this. Congratulations. How about a round of applause for Courtney? And Dr. Henry, we haven't met yet officially, but thanks so much for speaking today and tonight, and wonderful words. What was truth? Dubway. So I have to admit, I'm on my journey for Dubway as well, and I come here with a sense of humility, I'll fully admit, I have a lot to learn. And days like today are great for me and my wife, Kathy, just to be able to really learn what this day means. And since becoming the president of UND, I've had the honor of meeting and learning from many of our American Indian students, faculty members, and staff members. And through them, I've learned about the cultures, the history, and the challenges faced by Indigenous people at UND, in North Dakota, and across our nation. And today is a day to honor the First Nations. Our community's willingness to honor this day is an important step, though our efforts, as Dr. Henry said, shouldn't be limited to this day. It should be something we do day in and day out, year after year. And I've heard remarkable stories about achievement within the community, and there's no better example of this type of achievement than Dr. Don Warren. Don serves as the director of UND's School of Medicine and Health Sciences Public Health and Indians into Medicine programs, and also serves as the school's Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And Don earned his medical degree from Stanford and his master's degree in public health from Harvard. And we're so fortunate to have him as part of our campus community, as part of our community here in Grand Forks. And Don's work has had a profound impact on our campus. Under his leadership, the UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences has received a 5-year award from the National Institutes for Health, totaling more than $10 million to develop an Indigenous Trauma and Resilience Research Center. That's an enormous step, $10 million. And more important than the money that he's brought in for this important research effort is the fact that Don also created the world's first Department of Indigenous Health and the first PhD program in Indigenous Health. He continues to attract and inspire generations of American Indian students at UND and also in our School of Medicine. I've personally been proud to partner with Don in initiatives that will make our campus community one where each person feels a sense of value and a sense of belonging. And Don was very recently awarded the 2021 Helen Rodriguez Triass Award for Social Justice from the American Public Health Association. And this award is presented to an individual who has distinguished themselves professionally by working towards social justice for disadvantaged populations. It is named after the late Helen Rodriguez Triass, past president of the American Public Health Association and a pediatrician who strove to meet the needs of underserved and disadvantaged populations, especially women and children. And Don's work epitomizes what it means to bear the name of Helen Rodriguez Triass. And through Don's example and the hard work of so many, and he'll be the first to credit so many in the community to carry on this work, we will amplify our efforts on UND's campus to create an environment that will allow all to succeed and to allow UND to impact the lives on tribal lands and among our American Indian brothers and sisters. Don, I'm honored to be here today to recognize you for this important award. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. How pilami ayalo mitaku yepi an petu washte prejuta wichasha imachiapi. My name is Dr. Donald Warren. I'm just so deeply honored to be here and very humbled. I didn't realize that was all going to be said, so it comes as a surprise to me to hear all of this. But I'm very deeply honored to do this work, and I think what's important to remember is that it's not one individual, and I've been given a lot of opportunities to do things on behalf of our people, but we have an incredible team at UND, and it starts at the top with President Armacost and his staff and the support that they're genuinely giving us, but also the support that we get through Grand Forks. And when we look at our programs, of course, we have the Indians into Medicine program that's been around since 1973. And I know your father worked for them too, right? Yeah. So it's almost 50 years old. So 2023 will be the 50-year anniversary of InMed. And we have a couple of our medical school graduates over here as well. But we've now graduated over 260 American Indian physicians out of InMed programming. So for me, that's just carrying on a legacy that's already been well established. And we're very proud of our Indigenous Health PhD program and the Department of Indigenous Health, the first one of its kind at a medical school. But really, it is a team effort. We've been able to bring on board quite a few Indigenous scholars. And just to acknowledge some of them, Dr. Melanie Nadu, who has her PhD and Master of Public Health from University of Minnesota. She's from Turtle Mountain. We also have Dr. Nicole Redvers, who is a naturopathic physician, has her Master of Public Health from Dartmouth, and she's Dene Nukwe First Nations from Northern Canada. We also have Dr. Allison Kelleher, who's a family physician, and she's directing our American Indian Collaborative Research Network. She's Koyukon Athabaskan. Dr. Ursula Running Bear, who is Shichangu Lakota from Rosebud, South Dakota, has a PhD in clinical sciences and a master's degree in sociology. And just so many others. Dr. Kyle Hill, who's both Dakota and Ojibwe, a PhD from right here at UND in clinical psychology and also a Master of Public Health from Johns Hopkins University. So it's an amazing team. It's not any one individual, but we wouldn't be able to do this without the support of the university. So I wanted to acknowledge that very, very briefly, but also when we look at the land acknowledgement and where we are, there's a reason why this is called Grand Forks, and there's a reason why it's North Dakota. And it's the, as we know, the confluence of the Red Lake River heading west and the Red River heading north. But this was a sacred gathering spot for our people. And every time I cross the bridge, I think to myself how beautiful that must have been with 1,000 teepees and tens of thousands of people gathered right here in Grand Forks, and how beautiful that must have looked. And the reason why it's called North Dakota, right, is that the Dakota people were here, and that's why it was called the Dakota Territory. They just happened to be the easternmost of the Oyate, the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota. So I was like to say, if colonization had come from the west, this would have been the Lakota Territory, and this would be North Lakota instead of North Dakota, if colonization come the other direction. I'd be at UNL instead of UND if colonization had come the other way. But then also looking at Minnesota, a lot of people don't even know what the word Minnesota means. And that comes from two Dakota words, mani and shota. And mani is water, and shota is like a cloud or smoke. So when the weather starts to change and it looks like the clouds are rising off of the water, that's a mani shota. So we called it mani shota makoche, the land where the clouds rise off of the water. So beautiful descriptive term, but now it's Minnesota, right? So, oh, yeah, you betcha. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I'm so deeply honored to be a part of this. And it's not about any one individual, it's about a team, and it's about a community, and it's about the strength of our people. And the time is now. We are 7 generations removed from some terrible events in our history, and the prophecy was that we would be moving forward in a positive direction. And that's what I see in our young people today. And I'm just honored to be a part of it. So thank you all very much.
So, there goes my phone. We are going to have the dancers get up, and they're going to do an individual exhibition. And so, what was I going to say? Oh, just stay seated so everybody can see towards the back. If you all could do me a big, big favor, I'd like this event to grow. I'd like to see it in Alaris Center. I'd like to see it at Empire. I'd like to see it just in a space where we're not so crowded, that's, you know, appropriate for this type of event. And so if you have Facebook, please follow and like my page, just Grand Forks People's, Indigenous Peoples Collective. And then I have business cards if anyone wants to help me with the planning next year. It's just, it's kind of just me right now. Of course, I have the support of lots and lots of people, and we all have our daily lives, so I promise I won't bug you too much. But I just have to give a couple of shout outs. Warren family, Malin, she put together these beautiful baskets for our drum groups and our dancers. Thank you so much for that. Urban Stampede actually last minute donated some coffee on my last minute request for the drum group as well. Native Vote, we had leftover coffee cups from the census and get out and vote campaigns that we did, and they were gracious enough to let me gift those to the drummers and the dancers as well. Again, Grand Forks City Council, the staff here, everybody's been just so great and so accepting of just kind of trying to pull something together. And I know I'm forgetting somebody, and I apologize. Oh, the cookies. Oh my gosh, please take 2 cookies home. Leisha Oss with Target, they donated 200 cookies for this event tonight. And they are delicious. I've had one. I'm sure I fed your kids probably 3 by now, but take some more home. So after the dancers are done, please feel free to just socialize, get to know one another. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. But yes, please enjoy yourself. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I said 8 o'clock, but we're a little bit early. But I asked the dancers if they'd stay and take pictures. So if anyone wants to come and take pictures with the dancers and the drum group, we could do that. Unless anyone has any big resounding questions. Thank you so much for coming. I really do mean it. Come grab me. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'd love to make this event bigger and better next year. So thank you so much.